friends, you are watching Life Sciences Studies channel and I am your host, Professor Khodade. As we are making progress in our lecture series, in 4 lectures we studied about amino acid sequence and up to the secondary structures in proteins. But in this lecture, lecture number 5, we will be discussing mainly about the tertiary structure of proteins. You can see the list behind me where we have selected the points which we will deal with actually to understand the tertiary structure in more detail. So for that we will understand first about the secondary structure prediction in proteins with the help of Chou Fasman parameters. Then we will draw a helical wheel. We will learn how to actually draw a helical wheel and how it is useful for secondary structure prediction. Then we will discuss about the hydropathy plot, which is very essential to know the 3D structure in proteins. So these points seems very difficult, but I am sure after watching this lecture we will master in these points. So without wasting too much time, let's begin our lecture number 5. So friends, up till we have studied amino acids at their individual level, means separate amino acids with respect to their R group differences. Then we studied amino acids when they are interconnected by a peptide bond in a polypeptide chain. And in last lecture we studied about these polypeptide chain give rises secondary structures such as alpha helices and beta sheet. So we have this polypeptide chain indicated in this figure. Some portion of this polypeptide chain will be in alpha helix form and some portion of this polypeptide chain will be in beta sheet form. So a polypeptide chain may look like some portion is in alpha helix, some portion is in beta sheet. When polypeptide chain contain 2 secondary structures, either 2 alpha helices or alpha helix and beta sheet which are separated by turn-like structure, then that overall structure is known as super secondary structure and often called as a motif in protein. So we have primary structure, secondary structure and super secondary structures up till we have discussed. So when a polypeptide contain more than 2 super secondary structures, then the overall structure is known as tertiary structures. These tertiary structure contain many secondary structures, where in following diagram we can see that alpha helix, beta sheet, then again beta sheet, then again at the end of the polypeptide chain there is alpha helix. So case may be anything. Either you can have all the alpha helices present in polypeptide chain, or some portion is made up of alpha helices and some portion is made up of beta sheet. In a single polypeptide chain we are talking. So the point is clear that a single polypeptide chain will give rise single tertiary structure in which you will have many secondary structures present. In this way, the one tertiary structures combines with other tertiary structures, maybe 1, 2 or depends on situation. The group of these tertiary structures are known as quaternary structure, the highest protein organization. If a quaternary structure contain 2 tertiary structures, then that quaternary structure is known as dimeric protein. If that quaternary structure contain 3 tertiary structures, then it is trimeric. If 4 tertiary structures, then it is tetrameric. But remember, the quaternary structures cannot be a monomeric. Why? Because when tertiary structure is in single form, it is in tertiary structure, it is not a quaternary structure. For quaternary structure, 2 or more tertiary structure has to come together. But friends, story does not end here. Actually, story begins from this point. It is that the polypeptide chain as only a chain of amino acid, a sequence we have. How can we say or predict which portion of the polypeptide chain will be going to produce alpha helix and which portion will likely to form beta sheet? How can we know? For this, we have to study about secondary structure prediction with the help of Chou Fasman parameters. From the following chart, you can observe that at the left hand side, you have amino acids, and at the right hand side, you have that amino acids propensity, or you can say tendency to fall in particular secondary structure. Their propensity values are given. So let's discuss this with the help of one example, so it will be easy for you to assimilate this. So by looking in following diagram, where we have chain of amino acid sequence is given, where this chain is in single letter code, and already in first lecture we have studied amino acid representation in 3-letter code and single letter code for sake of convenience to understand. So we have these two informations. First, the sequence of amino acids in protein, and second, the Chou Fasman parameter table. So what we are going to do, we are going to find the stretch of amino acid which will fall for alpha helix. I mean, which region of this polypeptide chain will likely to produce alpha helix and which region of this polypeptide chain will likely to form a beta sheet. It is a secondary structure prediction. Many questions are based on this. So it is very important and I would request you to please understand this. So let's talk about alpha helix first. So in parameter chart we have alpha helix's propensity of each amino acid values. So let's start with selecting first 6 amino acid in the chain. If you look the values for each amino acid in a Chou Fasman chart, we just have to take those values and write below to the amino acid name. If you notice, 4 out of 6 amino acid which you have selected showing the PA value, means propensity for alpha helix value more than 100, that means the portion you have selected likely to be form alpha helix. If you keep doing this practice by selecting or shifting the frame by one amino acid, in this case we have selected from 1 to 6, now we are shifting frame from 2 to 7, then again we will shift the frame from 3 to 8. So in this way you will see the propensity for each amino acid to likely form a secondary structure. Same experiment we can do for a beta sheet, in which we will select again 6 amino acid in which any 4 amino acids which shows propensity for beta sheet value more than 100, we will consider or predict that this portion is going to form a beta sheet. You can roughly predict which portion is likely to produce the alpha helix and which portion is likely to produce beta sheet. This is the reason why we are studying that the tertiary structures are nothing but many secondary structures, but how can we find or decide which portion is going to form alpha helix and which portion is going to form a beta sheet? In this way, we can predict or decide the amino acid sequence which you have already given. From that, you can find which portion is ready to form alpha helix. For this, we have used Chou Fasman parameter, and you can get it from internet or from any biochemistry book. Once you know which portion of the polypeptide is going to form alpha helix and beta sheet, it is not over yet. It is our duty to find the helical wheel for that alpha helix, specially for alpha helix. So the information which will generated after drawing a helical wheel will show which part of the alpha helix will likely to interact with solvent and which part of the alpha helix will likely to interact with their inner portion. This is very important. There is a reason why we are doing this. First, we found which portion is going to form alpha helix. Now, we are looking at the helical wheel on the information of amino acid sequences. So, let's see how to draw a helical wheel by the information of polypeptide chain. We know that each amino acid contributes for 100-degree bend in a helix. So keeping this information in mind, let's draw a one circle. A circle is nothing but 360-degree turn. We know that. So the 0 degree is at the top. So complete turn is about 360 degree. So at the opposite side to the 0 there is a 180. So obviously 90 will be here and 270 will be opposite side. Okay, so let's begin with our amino acid sequence. Let's select first amino acid at 0 degree and on the distance of 100 degree you will have to point second amino acid. Why 100-degree distance? Because we know each amino acid contributes for 100 degree in full 360-degree rotation. So likewise you will have to point third amino acid again on 100-degree distance from the second amino acid, which will come around this position. Likewise you will have to point fourth amino acid, then fifth amino acid, sixth, seventh, eighth amino acid in same manner. Each amino acid will be 100-degree distance away from the previous amino acid. Please notice this. So what you got from this? You have a helical wheel where you will have to find the region where hydrophobic amino acids comes together and region where charged or polar amino acids comes together. You have to look at the helical wheel and find out which amino acid is located where. On that basis, you will have to draw a faint line like this manner, which will indicate that this portion of the helix will be hydrophilic and this portion of the helix will be hydrophobic. This is very important. Why we are talking about this? When the hydrophobic portion, as we have mentioned here, is in cytoplasmic protein case, will definitely will be facing toward the core of the protein, and this applies to the membrane protein, then it is the opposite case, because the membrane protein will have to interact with lipid molecules which are hydrophobic. So in case of membrane protein, this hydrophobic portion will be on the surface of the protein in order to interact with the fatty acids in lipids. So in two different cases, this helical wheel will be useful for prediction of orientation of helix in order to interact with their surrounding. So we just have the chain of polypeptide where amino acids are attached together by means of peptide bond. We can predict their three-dimensional structure on the basis of Chou Fasman parameter, and also we can draw helical wheel for alpha helices. But beyond this, we can go more in detail about tertiary structure of proteins in three-dimensional point of view. We have to study the hydropathy plot for particular protein. This hydropathy plot is based on local hydrophobicity of amino acid chains which are present in that protein. If you remember, in lecture number 3, we studied about hydropathy index, where we have seen a chart where amino acid names are written at the left and their hydropathy index values are given If the values are in positive, that means that amino acid is genuinely hydrophobic, and if values are in negative, that means that amino acid is hydrophilic. So by using hydropathy index and chain of amino acid information, we are going to form a hydropathy plot where we are going to use sliding window approach. So what is sliding window? Here we have sequence of amino acid. So we will select first 7 amino acids, that is 7 amino acid window we can say. 7 amino acids are selected because they are in odd fashion. If you see the fourth amino acid, left side 3 amino acids are there and at the right side 3 amino acids are there. So for sliding window approach, we will have to odd window. Generally window of 9 to 11 amino acids are best, but here we have selected 7 amino acid window. So some simple mathematics we will have to do. So we need to look at the hydropathy index and we'll have to write each amino acid's hydropathy index value below to it. Here in this case, if you write the first amino acid's hydropathy index value, then add it with the second amino acid's hydropathy index value, and so on. If you go adding for 7 different amino acids hydropathy index values, so you will get a value to which you will have to divide by 7. Why 7? Because we have considered first 7 amino acids in this case. So you will get average value and you have to write that or put that average value to the amino acid number 4. So this was regarding first window of 7 amino acids. Then you will have to shift your window to next 7 amino acids. In this case from amino acid number 2 to amino acid number 8. And you will have to follow the same procedure where the average value will have to put on amino acid number 5. Then again we'll have to slide window from 3 to 9, and then again we'll have to add average hydropathy index value on amino acid number 6. So in sequence you will get hydropathy index value for amino acid from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and beyond. So after getting these values, we will plot a hydropathy plot in following manner on graph paper, where the x-axis and y-axis, on x-axis we will have a sequence of amino acids in protein, and on y-axis we will have hydropathy index values. So on upper side we will have hydropathy index value in positive, and at the downside we will have hydropathy index values in negative. So if you take those values on this graph paper, you will see the plot is developed. In this case, the upper region is a positive value region and bottom is a negative value region. So what it indicates? We have amino acid chain where some portion is hydrophobic, we can say straightforwardly, and some portion is hydrophilic. So this plot can be used for prediction of protein structure in two different levels, either for cytoplasmic protein or for membrane protein. So in case of cytoplasmic protein, we can say that on the basis of plot information, this section will be the core of that protein, and in case of membrane protein, this section will be at the surface of membrane protein. Why? Because on membrane they will have to interact with hydrophobic lipid molecules. And one important point I would like to add here is that the dipole in helix. What is dipole in helix? That the partial charges on amino group and oxygen atom will create a dipole in a helix. So when helix comes next to each other, if two helixes are there, they are next to each other, they will always in opposite direction to each other, or we can say anti-parallel to each other. To cancel out dipole in helix, they have to remain in this position. They cannot remain in same direction. So this is informative for you. So up till we have studied mainly how to predict a secondary structure with the help of Chou Fasman parameters, then how to draw a helical wheel for alpha helix, then we have seen how to draw a hydropathy plot for three-dimensional protein to predict which portion is going to be a hydrophobic and which portion is going to be hydrophilic in order to decide which portion is going to be on surface or in the core of the protein, which is very important. So friends, our understanding with protein is not limited only for primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary structure as shown in this figure. But beyond this, we can actually predict the secondary structure and tertiary structures in proteins by using those Chou Fasman parameters and KD index values as shown in these charts. These values, where are they came from? These values are the product of extensive studies done by those scientists, and tribute to those scientists because they have given such values, and by using these values we can predict a secondary structure and tertiary structure in proteins, which is very essential. Not only in exam point of view, but as a student you should know these values and how to use these values for simple mathematical purposes for prediction of proteins. So up till 5 lectures in this lecture series we have seen many things from simple amino acid to the complex tertiary and quaternary structure of proteins. Beyond this, in this lecture series you will see about mainly the functions in proteins, how they act, how they are useful. So thank you very much for watching this video. I am sure you must be enjoying this lecture series. So I request you to please subscribe this channel and share it to your friends. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for your time. We will see you again. Thank you.